I'm Lynn Hughes-Williams and I'm your host for today's show. My guest is Gethin Jones and he's here to talk about cyclothymia. Now, that was a new term to me and I have since read up about it. So, yes, hi Gethin, thank you for taking the time to meet with me today.
Not a problem.
So, tell me a little bit more about cyclothymia.
Well, it's a very it's a subject really that most people in the country actually suffer from. It is a form of a mental health illness, but it's not as severe as what people might think. And people where you might have your family members or friends or everything who would be fine for about 8 months of the year and everything, and then you will find people who suffers from cyclothymia just a tad. They would disappear for a couple of days. They would be alternating from a high mood and then to a depressive mood, and it can happen in a period of over days, and or sometimes even hours, and everything. For me, I've been diagnosed as a cyclothymic now for nearly 20 years. And there's a whole wide range of issues that can actually trigger it. And I could go for about 9 months without feeling any sort of depression or anything like that. But next thing you know, the click of a finger, something would drive me then to be really hyperactive. I'm not sleeping, not engaging, slurred speech. I come across as a bit drunk, which is ironic because I haven't touched alcohol in about 7 years. And and what will happen is I will do my best in order to find something that will give me a lot of joy, happiness, whether it's in the physical sense, the intimate sense, or just spending a lot of money just to make myself feel good. And I will do a lot of cooking, a lot of buying stuff off Amazon, and basically, and I will find out. I'll probably go to charity shops, buy a whole load of stuff, and realize I don't need them. And next thing, when I realize when the endorphins just come down back to ground level, I feel like I've jumped out of a plane and hit the ground, and my psyche then is just collapsed. But when you're actually going into the depressive phase, it's so quick that you will not actually, for me personally, can't speak for all cyclothymics, but it will be, I don't want to speak to somebody, I will lock the door, not engage with anybody, the phone will be off. The sound deafenings, I do not want to hear anybody or the traffic or anything like that. And sometimes it's a struggle to get out of bed, and with everything. And it's a very mild form of bipolar, because bipolar has a more of a tendency, it happens more frequently, but it happens with me, it's like happening over an 8 to 9 month cycle. Or well, I used to start off with 6 month cycles, and then basically twice in a year I would have all of this energy and then the immediate put down. And when the put down comes in, it is slightly, you do get dark thoughts, suicidal thoughts. Then you're worried about how much money that you've spent, who have you actually been intimate with, or who have you actually been ticking off, and because when you're in a high state, there's so much lack of inhibitions, you just want to tell people the truth. I will tell people, you're ticking me off. Do you know what I mean? It's just one
Yeah,
of those things. Or I would be very blunt and saying, stop with the BS. Did you know what I mean? You're talking rubbish.
yeah,
Why have you done that? Did you know what I mean? Instead of actually knowing your audience, you just don't know. Um, and then as soon as your psyche collapses, you then start to think, oh, what have I done? How am I going to face people? Why did I do that? And your self-confidence comes down. And I would say, coming out of the depressive state, I would say it would take me about 3 to 5 days to come out of the depressive state. And then I would slowly build up then for being, and I don't like using the word, to the normality route. but which doctors will call your baseline. You're back to normal.
So when you're in that depressive mode, how do you get yourself out of it? Or is it natural? Do you just have to wait till it passes?
Um,
How
I
do you
do know
manage
that
it?
I do know that there's a end game towards when you're coming out of the depressive state. So the way I was taught in CBT and everything is to ride the storm out. That's how you deal with it. But over the years, I've developed more coping mechanisms. I've always had pets and this, that, and the other, and like Monty over here at the moment, he's sleeping. I know I have to get up in order to get him out and walk him,
Right.
and and having something to focus on and care for something actually works. When I was with my partner, we had a dog between us as well, lovely dog, and everything like that. But I felt I needed to get up because I was working shifts and everything, and I needed to get up very early, and then I would do his breakfast or something just to get me out of the bed. That's focus on one thing, and then things will go to another way. Then do you
It's
know what I
like
mean?
having a purpose and a
Yeah, it's like
responsibility.
it's like having a purpose. But if I didn't have anybody with me or the dog or the cat, well, I haven't got a cat, but you have to focus on something else then, and then I would go and try and do something, try and read a book, and but I would set myself targets, you know, okay, to get through this next hour, you've got to do something. Because if I don't put a target within that hour, even if it's like, in the next hour, you've got to get showered and changed.
Right.
If that makes sense. Or and then to get through the next hour, right? I need to read that specific chapter in the book, or I'm currently doing. But it has to be small steps. Believe it or not, in my depressive state, I could not watch a film. It's too long.
Mm.
Did you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then and you start to think, and maybe this is true of a lot of people, but when you get a little bit older and you realize you wasted a day, you feel sorry for yourself. Oh, I could have done that. I could have done that. And time goes quicker when you're older as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you realize, oh, I should have I should have taken Monty down to the beach today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But if you put a small goal in every hour, it actually focuses you, and then you don't go into the depressive or the suicidal thoughts or the dark thoughts. So you have to do it step by step. It's like the 12-step program.
Right.
Just do one thing one day and try and do something that you enjoy. So it's making sure that you've got like a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Seems like you have to be quite methodical then.
oh yes, but
Yeah.
especially in the depressive state. And
Mm.
but when I'm returning back to the baseline, I just don't have any regrets. Oh, I should have done that today, but things gone awry. You see you've got a different perspective
Right.
about
Yeah.
it.
You don't beat yourself up about it.
No, there's no point because well, for me as a cyclothymic, you're going to be beating yourself up anyway when you're going through the depressive phase.
Right.
And yeah, and that's where sometimes there's a borderline person, and this is how cyclothymia grows then into borderline personality. And if you don't keep it in check, you could go the other way,
Right.
and that's a harder way to recover from. And then they will start to put you on medication and everything, and that sort of frightens me because I'm on so many medication now because I've got ill health issues physically,
Mm.
and by taking both of them, one of them has got to give.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you've got to do a more of a holistic approach towards it when you're suffering from cyclothymia, and but if you want to talk to me about the highs is just the coping mechanisms now is if I feel like I am going on, I would hide the car keys, or I would hide my bank account, leave them with a neighbor or anything, or somebody that I trust, and everything, and then but when you're actually on a high, and everything like that. You seem to start new projects and this, that, and the other. And when you come crashing down, you forget about them. But equally, but then when you go back to your baseline, you were just thinking, why on earth did I start that?
Right.
What made me possessed to do that? That course. You're not interested in that course. Well, what are you doing it for? Did you know what I mean? Or
So, how would you describe it? Is it like an excitement? You know, you're really enthusiastic and then it wears off?
no, the first symptom I get when I go onto a high is I have racing thoughts,
Okay.
and I can't shut off. I've got to do this, then I've got to do that. Which one do I do first? This, that, the other. What
Mm.
do I mean? Did I pay that bill? Do I need to have that curry tonight? Do I need to buy this thing? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
Or
So your mind is very busy.
very busy, and it's frustrating because you just don't know what do you, and you get all of this unused energy,
Mm.
and you find the energy from somewhere, and then you realize. And I remember the first few attacks that I had, just looking at my credit card statement. Whoa, I spent about 300 quid there. What the hell is that all about? Do you know what I mean? And then when I
Yeah.
come, thankfully, I come back through the baseline normal. I cancel them. Did you know what I mean? I refund them and
Right.
everything. But it takes a lot of effort when I come back to it, and then you just realize, why on earth did I want to have that?
Yeah, yeah.
Which I don't. It's sort of re-examining your psyche as if to say, well, why did you want to have that? You've never expressed an interest in that or anything like that. And I can remember I think about 2 years ago when I was on a high, and I had just moved back to West Wales, and when I was high, I started doing paddleboarding
All right.
on a high,
Yeah.
and I've never done it before. And the instructor said, "Oh, you were really, really good at it. You're really as a natural about it." And like when I came down then as a depressive, I couldn't remember anything I did as a high until I
Right.
got an email back from the paddleboard offering me a year's subscription. And I
Okay.
said, and I could say, why did I do paddleboarding? And then when I went back to do the paddleboarding on my baseline, I was useless at it
Right.
because I was thinking about it.
Yes, yeah. That's
I was
interesting.
yeah. When you're on more of a high, you're more liberated. You're more confident. Your self-esteem. It's false self-esteem. Don't
Right.
yeah, and but it just makes you wonder. Um, and I even bought the wetsuit, the paddleboard, the
Oh,
oar.
you went the whole hog.
I went
Yeah.
the whole hog, and I just could. And thankfully, there was a 28-day receipt. Did you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And get them all back. And what they couldn't understand was, well, you're a natural at it. And when I did it during my baseline, they just said, you just lost it.
Yeah.
It's like I wouldn't say I've got another different personality or anything like that, but it's like racing to finish the task
Mm.
because there's always another thought behind you. Well, what to do next?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I would watch something on YouTube or something like that, and I can even remember watching something from my childhood, and then I had to order the toy, and I don't know why I would do such a thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and that's about it really. And but as soon as I've learned, then I'm being on my own. The advice I can give to anybody is tell people that you are or what you are to people that you trust, so they know. So say now that I'm telling you this, and you can't get a hold of me. You probably think, oh right, he's on a high on a low, or anything. Or you would probably have about 50 emails from me. Did you know what I mean? I say, oh, Gethin's off on a tangent, off and again. But people will take my credit cards away, or my bank cards, or my mobile phone.
Mm.
So just so that I wouldn't spend any of the money.
Does this affect friendships and relationships?
Yes. Friendships, no. Relationships, yes. Because if you tell people, well, Gethin is Gethin. Did you know what I mean?
Mm.
It's just we know who his habits, you know what we'll do, and this, that, or the other. Like my parents, if I usually phone them every Wednesday and Sunday, and if they haven't heard from me after the following the following Wednesday, they would know, oh, he's an upper or a downer.
Right, yeah.
So they will check in and this, that, the other. But like last night, I forgot to phone them, but I'll be phoning them tonight now just to make sure, to tell them I'm not on an upper or for anything like that. Relationships, yes, it does, because the reason why I'm saying it affects relationships, if you don't actually talk to your partner about it, they don't know what to expect.
Right.
And the first thing that they would say is, what the hell have I walked into in this relationship? Do you know what I mean? This bloke's a psycho. He's off his head. He's got issues, and this, that, or the other. Unless you're actually honest and upfront, you can have a normal relationship, but that person needs to have that understanding. That person then will be in charge of the phone, the cards, and everything. And and my ex, bless him, he got that. Did you know what I mean? And there was but he would know by experience when the depressive phase will end. So he would just think, oh well, God, we only got one more day of this to go. Did you know what I mean? And everything. I am obviously me and my ex finished, and we finished about 4 years ago. It was all very amicable and everything, but for me, I wouldn't say, I can't speak for all cyclothymics or anybody who's married or this, that, the other, is I will have to actually, find the one and trust it and speak to him like that. But at the moment, it's just because I'm setting up my own company, working with newborn mediation, doing these podcasts, making awareness. I'd rather concentrate on that at the moment than having a relationship. And I've got my dog here, right here, which is, he's asleep now. He's been for a long walk. And, yeah, but it's, you have to find somebody that you honestly trust. And so
prepared to be open-minded, I guess.
Yes.
And understand what cyclothymia is and how it affects you.
Yeah. And yeah. But I can remember one incident with my ex is all about the council tax. Do you know what I mean? He forgot to buy pay off the council tax, and I just ripped my lid when I was on a high.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's stuff like that, because it's like my OCD. I wouldn't say I'm OCD. I'm organized, but I get hyperactive with my organizational skills. Although they're all over the place, I will do it. Do you know what I mean? This, that, if anything is out of place, do you know what I mean? The house would, when in the hyper phase, my house will be clean from top to bottom. Doesn't matter if I've cleaned it during my baseline, and it'll be all done over again. And
I think I'll invite you down here then when you're on a high.
Yeah, and everything has got to be like perfectly aligned and stuff like that. It's a bit weird. And then I will stop halfway through, do something else, then come back to it, but everything seems to be to be done anyway. And then something will click in my brain, and just to say, right, okay, you haven't done paddleboarding, let's do it. And then about 28 days later, you go, or basically that's what you think when your credit card sequence comes online, and you start to think, but it is funny though. When I bought the paddleboard, I put the paddleboard behind the cupboard, and then out the way so I wouldn't see it.
Right, yeah.
So when I came back up to baseline, I had to search high and low, and I had to go up the attic, or did I put it up the attic? And then I found instead of putting it on top of the cupboard, where it would go nicely, I actually managed to pull the cupboard out and then put it behind and put the cupboard back.
Oh, God. And you don't remember that?
I don't remember that.
No.
I thankfully it doesn't make me go drink or this, that, or the other. But people would say I would go into coffee shops or into pubs and just talk random stuff. And everybody thinks, oh, you're so sociable and this, that, and the other, but they don't know what's driving the social thing about it.
Yes.
I could walk.
Does that worry you then?
It does when it affects, because mild bipolar and bipolar high, if it's not controlled, it affects your libido, where
Right.
you want to give, the urge to have sex or make love is strong, and
Yeah.
and everything. It's a way of exerting the energy out of you. But the thing is, as well, is when I do get into a high state, no one really wants to be with that kind of person. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
I can't unless somebody wants to take some advantage of a vulnerable person, and it'd be dangerous for. And this is what I fear about women having cyclothymia, is because there's so many male predators out there. They would certainly take advantage of the situation,
Right.
and and it was funny. In about 6 months ago, I was walking through Amerford Town Centre, and I saw one of my sister's friends from school, and she was talking 20 to the dozen towards me,
Mm.
touching my arm and everything. Oh, you've
Just
got
being
such a pretty face,
tactile.
and I knew straight away you've got the same thing that I've got. So I sat her down, because I was on the baseline at the time, and so I sat her down and I said, "Okay, breathe. This, that, and the other. What have we got planned for today? Oh, I'm going to get the kids. Oh, then we're going to go to the park. Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. Did you know what I mean?" And then I had to talk it down, and just to say, And I asked her what was she now doing, and she said she was a teacher. And I was going, well, shouldn't you be in school then? And then she looked at her watch, and just to say, oh my God, I've got a class to teach in about 4 minutes. And
Right.
yeah, did you know what I mean? But it was, hopefully, and, but then I went to the school with her and sort of explained, I think she's having a cyclothymic attack. And I sort of said, I go through it as well. And then obviously, I personally think that they knew. They knew
Okay.
because they gave her the afternoon off. But
Right.
what she didn't know, but it hadn't registered in her head, because she's got all the racing thoughts
Mm.
and about everything, and then I sort of twigged, right, okay, that's fine. But one of the staff members, a female staff member, then took her home for her own protection and this, that, and the other. But it is, you know, I could see what was going to happen. She, she's a single mother and everything like that. But what would happen then is she would then fall into the depressive state for a couple of days, probably phoning sick. And then, but say now, this was a Tuesday. By the end of Thursday, she'd probably be in a depressive state. And then she'll probably be fine by the next Monday or Tuesday.
Mm.
But she wouldn't remember coming to see me in the coffee shop,
Okay. Yeah.
and for everything like that. And she's one of the most sternest teachers you would ever come across. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Where you would think, oh yeah, she's got her act together. Do you know what I mean? And she's a sports teacher as well. So having that and being a sports teacher, well, she's got more extra energy than anybody else because of that. And it's just remarkable that people just think of her as a role model, but no one seems to be knowing what's happening underneath.
Mm. So, are there any support groups that you attend or know of?
Um, I do the online support groups, or the phone calls and stuff like that. There is a network called Mind, and and then the bipolar groups and stuff, and the cyclothymia comes under that. And
Okay.
and what we do have then is we do have a buddy system.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? We check in on each other and everything, and then we sort of, what happens is you've got three buddies. Everybody's got three buddies each, and then you have a DP to check in on them every week.
Okay.
And so basically, but if you don't know then what they are, then you go through the administrator, and the administrator, with consent from the person, if they're local to you,
Mm.
you can go do a knock on the door,
Okay.
or we will inform the local police, and just to say, listen, there's a bit of a mental health issue, epic here. Okay, she's cyclothemic. She's not quite bipolar, but she will quiet down if you know about anything. That's the local agreement that we've got with other people. There are the support groups in person is very few and far between. Simple reason is not many people actually suffer from cyclothymia in your own area, and everything. And COVID has made it a lot worse.
Right.
So it's better to have like a national thing, or for like every Tuesday or Thursday, the online sessions and stuff like that, and speak to people through Zoom and stuff like that. But people are really don't really want to admit that they've got a mental health issue.
You think there's still a stigma attached?
Yeah, or beyond and everything. It's just, and I can tell you now, after I've moved back to West Wales, and I'm telling people used to come to me for advice, legal advice or whatever, because that's my area of expertise. And then they would, when I would tell them, they would just think, well, I would never have thought of it. And then they start to think that, and they start to walk around eggshells around you. Right. You know, but for about, I would say, for about good 7 to 8 months a year, you don't suffer from anything. And then this happens, and within a week you can go up and you can go down, and then you're back to normal.
Because, are there triggers?
Yes, the stress, I would say, is one of them. And I would say, on the behalf of the people that I support with, most of it is financial stress.
Okay. Yeah.
And low self-esteem, and that's how that's the majority I've dealt with. But there are some people who are suffering from PTSD, and that can trigger it as well. And well, I nearly lost my leg in 2019, and I was told, "Can you sign the form, please? We may need to have to amputate your leg." You know, and sometimes that is sort of a trigger for me. If I have a nightmare about that, I can honestly say 90% chance that I'm going to go into a high. It's just to forget about it.
Yes, yeah.
You know, and because you want to feel the endorphins and everything just to make sure that you feel alive. But I've known people who starts off being depressive and then goes hypomanic. So it can go both ways. But for me, it's always the hypomania, then it's the depression. It's like, oh God, why did I do that? But so with some people is they will be depressed. Right, I need to cheer myself up. Let's do this. Let's go on. You know, they'll go out for a run for miles, and this, that, to the other. So there's no specific order towards it as well. And
it's individual. Then.
Yeah, the local mental health community team is aware of my situation, but because there's no funding, they're not interested. Unless you're actually having an episode there and then, they're not interested. But
which of course is then a crisis, then, isn't it?
Well, it's a crisis, but the thing is, you know, they can't be around your clock for 24/7.
No.
You know, and I'm not pitting cyclothymia against bipolar 1 or bipolar 2 or anything like that. But when somebody is actually having a mental health crisis, then they are the priority there and then. You know, they haven't got the resources to contact me every month or 6 months or anything like that. It's, well, you know, the state of the NHS is pretty bad in Wales anyway. And so is in Scotland, Northern Ireland, England. But what we are saying is, you know, we need to get the message out of there, you know. And I'm trying to get like cyclothymic badges or this, that, and the other, you know, so the police may be a little bit more aware. Yeah, and I'm fully trained. And it's the irony of all ironies as well, is because I'm a mental health first aider. So I can, but basically, because I know what I've been going through, I know what they're going through.
Yes, you can empathise.
Yeah, and if you feel like you're rock bottom, okay, well, I'd rather make myself feel better. I'd rather grab somebody's hand and both climb out of the rock bottom. You feel a lot better. Do you know what I mean? So you can gain that trust from that person. Not only does it actually help you and give you, you know, the satisfaction of helping somebody else, but that person who is also in the same position gives someone a sense of hope. But I see it. I see it quite often as well. Is my local Tesco's in Amford, is where you can see people getting stressed and frustrated, and you know the eggs are breaking or anything like that, or you can see it with mothers going around with their children. They might be fed up with the children, but it's not that. I can honestly say it's I caught somebody the other day speeding with her child, but she was speeding around Tesco's and putting everything in. But it wasn't stress from the child, what everybody thought, or anything. But the child will only see what the mum is doing, if that makes sense.
You're more alert to it then,
yeah.
aren't you?
So just throw everything. Because she was saying to him, "Oh, whatever you want, just throw it in. Come on, let's go. We've got to go and do something else." Do you know what I mean? And when I approached her then, and just said, "Are you okay?" and this, that, and the other, and then she just turns around and goes, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing." Well, listen to my voice. I'm going through this. I know what you're going through. Okay, let's go out. Let's go and pay, and then let's go out and and take the child out with this as well. Do you know what I mean? And it's that kind of stuff where people turn around and say thank you to you. Did you know what I mean? Because you pointed out, as in, yeah. Because it's one of those adages. If you know, you know.
Yeah. What do you think helped you then? Was it the CBT treatment that helped you to manage the ongoing issues?
I don't want to disparage CBT, but
I suppose we should explain cognitive
yeah,
behavioral therapy, isn't it?
yes, and I'm not here to badmouth them, but it's gone now to a system where if I'm having therapy, I want to see the person either face to face or like what we're doing here at Zoom, because I can get the feel for the other people. But it's gone now is you'll have a few sessions and then everything else you read online. That doesn't work for people like me.
Okay, right.
That's I would rather be in the room with somebody. But when you start to feel, when you look at that credit card bill, and let's be honest, with me and money, all right, I like money, but I like my money to grow every day. Do you know what I mean? I'm not keen on spending money. That's how I was brought up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Always for a rainy day. But when something like that hits you, where you use stuff from the CBT, then like deep breaths, deep breaths. How are we going to sort this out? Well, next time when you get this kind of feeling, give the cards to your neighbours. Do you know what I mean? Take money out because you need it to buy some food or something like that, and then that's it. Do you know what I mean? And and you can save a lot of money like that. You give the phone to somebody, or you lock the phone away, or something. Do you know what I mean? It's but I've gone into a habit. I've only recently come out and telling a lot of people what I am suffering from, and I've sent them all a message with a link and saying what cyclothymia is. And if you think about, and if I am sending you messages which you might find funny, inappropriate, or repetitive, you know that there's something wrong. So somebody can phone me up and just to say, calm down, you're going into this phase. Yeah, I know. And then basically I will go and run to Aaron next door, and Aaron will keep my credit cards and the stuff for at least a week. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. But then again, that's where the idea of being good neighbours comes in. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's important to have a support network, isn't it?
Yeah, and
If you're not in a community where you've got that support, I suppose it's a bit worrying, isn't it?
it is very worrying. But as long as but my friend who was a next door neighbour, he's also a trained counsellor, so
Okay.
he deals with people like that all the time. So, but he won't counsel me for obvious reasons because he knows me or anything like that. But he's willing to actually take my credit cards and my phones or anything like that, which I don't need. So I wouldn't go back into debt or anything like that, or order 3 freezers or something like that. But it is funny sometimes. I know I shouldn't be making a laugh for it, but it is funny when you coming a borderline and then something comes through Amazon and you just think, why on earth have I ordered this? Did you know what I mean? I'm never going to read this book.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was something like the last cycle I went through, how to brew your own beer.
Okay.
And a beer kit, and I ordered a beer kit.
And do you drink?
No, I don't. That's the irony of the situation. And thankfully, Amazon took it back, and then I
Yeah.
got a refund and everything.
It's good
And
that you can laugh, mind.
Oh, I have to. If I can't laugh at myself,
Really been insightful talking to you today. As I said, it's not a term that I had come across before, but there may be people listening now who can relate to what you've been speaking about. What would your tips be to cope with it, or the first step, really?
the first step is to be honest with yourself. If you know that something's wrong, you are the best person to say that, and don't be afraid to look stuff up like cyclothymia or mental health issues, but do not self-diagnose. You have to go to a GP or get a psychiatrist evaluation. I would highly recommend that you do the cognitive behavioral therapy, but don't copy anybody else's coping mechanisms. Find your own. Okay, because my coping mechanisms are completely different to anybody else, and it depends on down on the nature. But you do something that is actually works for you. And the last tip, no, there's two more tips I will give. Tell people you trust and your place of work, because it is recognised under the Mental Health Act. And the last thing I would say is, okay, you can go to a counsellor or have therapy for it. However, it's more therapeutic and more holistic approach if you come and speak to people who are actually in the same boat as you. You can take the journey together, okay, and no, and if somebody came up to me and talked about their cyclothymia, well, I can't judge because I go through it myself, and then when I do speak to other cyclothymics, we have a laugh about what we've done during our highs or our lows, and that raises our self-esteem. And if you can laugh at it, then halfway there, laughter is the best medicine out there. But
did you mention earlier about Mind? Would they be a good
yes,
organisation to get in touch with?
Mind, mental health charities and stuff like that. There's a forum on the bipolar forum because cyclothymia comes under there,
Okay.
and everything, and it's more like an online chat, like we used to have when the first internet came out. You don't see pictures of yourself or this, that, or the other, and people will post their funny stories, their sad stories, how they are triggered, and unusual coping mechanisms. But as I keep saying, that coping mechanism might not work for me, but you can adapt it. But you can adapt it to yourself.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid. To tell your loved ones or your friends or anything like that, because believe it or not, when you're on a high, you don't care about anything. You just want that self pleasure, and then you regret everything and then you think, oh, I haven't got anybody to talk to, or this, that, or the other. If you're in a positive mind frame, yes, there are people that you can't talk to. Do you know what I mean? And like I was saying, do one thing this hour for the next 6 hours, this or the other. Time will go by, and then hopefully you will not be thinking about the depressive state and having dark suicidal thoughts and stuff like that.
Okay.
You can beat it if you work at it.
Yes, yeah. And I suppose one of the other main messages is you're not alone.
Oh God, no, 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 no one's alone, anything like that. And whether you're suffering from bipolar 1, 2, cyclothymia, manic depressive, or anything like that, it's not like a members only club. But at one point in your life, you will face depression, whether it's through grief or whether it's through a loss of a house or a job. You will. But if you talk to people about it, you will feel a lot better.
Yes, yeah. A
Yeah.
problem shared is a problem halved, as they
Yeah.
say.
And as I say, I do a couple of shifts for the Samaritans, and I can tell you now, Samaritans will always listen towards you and everything. They will not be judgmental and will signpost you in the right way.
Great stuff. Well, thank you ever so much, as I say, Gethin. I really appreciate that. And I'm sure people can take a lot away from this interview today.
No,
So
not to worry. Diolch yn fawr. Thank
thank
you very
you.
much.